Welcome back to SB Nation. After going 5-0 against the spread in week 1 of the college football season, it only makes sense to move on to week 2, where I will be making you money for entertainment purposes only, Rick Neuheisel. Way down yonder in College Station, Texas A&M gets its SEC initiation when they host the Florida Gators. Florida's offense looked below average at best in their uninspiring week 1 home win over Bowling Green, but because this is an Aggie team with a new coach, new offensive system, and new starting quarterback, and without a game under its belt, I think Florida will succeed enough on defense, even as Jeff Driscoll slowly comes along under center in front of a raucous Kyle Field crowd of bros to pull out its SEC opener. It won't be pretty, but not much of Florida really is anymore, so in a game we'd all rather forget, let's go Gators by 4. Next, out west in the stadium, filled to nearly 68% capacity, UCLA opens the Rose Bowl's 2012 season as a 5-point underdog against visiting Nebraska. Both teams are looking to repeat uncharacteristically dominant offensive performances, and by that I mean Nebraska succeeding through the air and UCLA not having to report a quarterback injury. Hooray! Also, surprisingly enough, with starting Cornhusker running back Rex Burkhead out with a knee injury, the scariest weapon on the field could be Taylor Martinez's right arm. This is where you're supposed to gasp and hear crickets in your head. But if Nebraska can handle a decent UCLA defensive front, the up pace of the Big Red attack should cause enough problems for a still inconsistent UCLA defense. Plus, it's so very fun to hear and say Quincy Enunwa over and over. With a relatively minimal home field advantage to deal with, I can't help but like Nebraska by, let's call it 13. Staying out west, the Pokes of Oklahoma State travel to Tucson to see what Rich Rodriguez's Arizona team looks like. This isn't scientific, but Arizona's front seven is about my size with my general temperament, which is to say, pleasant. I don't know how this line ended up at 13.5, but bet your bottom entertainment dollar that Cowboy running backs Joseph Randle and Jeremy Smith will have clean enough jerseys after this game to bypass the post-game laundry and just get folded up for next week. I feel terrific about T-Boone's orange and white gentlemen to cover the 2 touchdowns and win big on the road by 24. In another SEC debut, Missouri hosts the Dogs of Georgia in Columbia Mo. Both teams eventually stood out in week 1, but Missouri, even though they may finish behind Georgia at the end of the year, could be built well enough, particularly on offense, with Georgia's secondary's suspensions and the Tigers being especially aggressive through the air with James Franklin to be all right in this one. On the other side, Aaron Murray and the Dogs will score points and continue to develop their relatively inexperienced running backs. It looks even to me, so barring a very real possibility that Georgia's Jarvis Jones doesn't decapitate anyone, I feel cautiously optimistic about the school with the better journalism school. I don't know. I'll take the new SEC home dogs plus a 1.5. Give me Missouri by 3. And finally, oh dear God, there's just a steaming pile of Husky where the Washington offensive line once stood. There is and will continue to be a lot to like about Washington, particularly their receiving core, but LSU is simply too deep, too athletic, and simply too Barkevious Mingo-y for Washington to hang around for anything longer than a half. Look for the Tigers to wear down a Husky defense with a lot of potential, but just not enough September 8th potential. All that out of the way, difficult call of LSU giving the points, but barely, giving Sark, and I guess the Huskies all they can handle with 24 points. So, let us know your locks, what I got right, probably everything, what I got wrong. Let us know in the comments. We'll see you next week.